we are going to be doing some tempera painting. We're going to try to paint this Bluebird. To set up your workspace, here's what I'd like you to do. This is what works for me. I'm going to tip this down. You're going to have your painting right in front of you, right in front of your belly. You're going to have your cup of water the furthest away from you. Now, I'm doing mine upside down because that's the orientation of my camera. So the water cup is furthest away from you. Then you have your paint palette, this right here, and you have your paper towel, and you've got your brushes facing you. Your art supplies are not any place near you, okay? I'll have this picture up on the board in case you need a little bit of inspiration, and we're ready to start. So the first thing to remember is you don't need a ton of paint when you're tempera painting because it goes on here kind of thin, so you don't need a whole ton. You also don't need a gigantic brush. Maybe like a medium-sized one for the background. And we've got our paint right here. I'm gonna be mixing colors to try to match these colors here. I'm gonna start up in this corner and make it light and have it come down and fade into blue and fade down into the green and then darker green. You get to do your sky however you want to do your sky. This is your picture, okay? So I'm gonna get a medium-sized brush. Let's see. Okay, this one's good. So make sure your brush is dry and make sure it is clean before you start. You don't want to start with a wet brush. So what I'm going to do is look at this color here. It's kind of like a whitish yellow. When you mix your colors, you're going to pull your colors away from the pool. So this is the pool color. Pull a little yellow over and a little bit of white over and mix it up. This is way too yellowy for the part I want there. So now I can bring more white in and a little bit more. And it's really light yellow. And I think I like that. So then what I will do is start by painting up in this corner. And you can just brush by pulling towards you or back and forth like this. Sometimes you'll see the marks of where the brush went like this. That's called a brush stroke. Or you can make it nice and smooth, totally up to you. I forgot to mention, we want to put a piece of paper underneath here because I'm getting paint on the table. The piece of paper is on top of the drying rack. I'll just have to scrub my table when I'm done, okay? So I've got my yellowy up in here. And then as I go down, I'm gonna rinse out my brush just a little bit. So I rinsed it out in my cup. And then you have to dry your brush every time. So dry it with your paper towel, okay? Now I'm gonna go down a little bit further. I'm gonna do a little bit of white without any yellow. So I'm dipping into my paint, dipping into my white, and going down a little bit further. So that softens that edge up just a little bit before I move into my blue area. All right. So do you notice I don't have gobs of paint in my brush? I think that's the number one thing that kids do is that, or adults, is they get too much paint on the brush and then it gets too messy and they don't know what to do with it. I want to go down into this bluer area, but it's not the blue out of the container. It's like a lighter blue. Ooh, and it's mixed a little bit with that yellow in there. Ooh, yeah. So I kind of like that color here. So now I'm going to start by a little bit away. Oh, look at that spicy color. And then do you see how this is not filling in? I don't have enough paint. So now I'm going to dip back into my palette. Mix that up a little bit more. I'm gonna get right up next to the bird, but I don't wanna go over my bird because then I'd have to redraw it. Please remember, you always should do your background first. And get it right behind my bluebird, mix a little bit more. I don't want it to be too blue because then my bluebird is gonna be blue. Right here, I want them to blend together, so I'm gonna just dip in white only. And I can drag those two colors back and forth. And don't worry if you ever goof up and you're like, oh no, that's not what I wanted. You can always wait till it dries and paint a little bit over it. Like right here, this isn't blending how I want. So I'm gonna actually rinse my brush out and I'm gonna get most of the water out of it, dry it off. And then with just a little bit of water in my brush, look at what that does. I'm gonna blend these two together just a little bit. So I'm just kind of troubleshooting as I go to let you know how this kind of works. Now I'm going to dip in a little bit of green and mix that little bit of green with my blue. So as I go over this way, it's going to be blue-green with a little bit of white. So just kind of play around with it. Ooh, look at that spicy color. See how that's looking kind of funky there? Dip just in my white. Beautiful for spacious skies. I'm dipping blue and green. And at this point, we're just having ourselves just a masterpiece. I tell you what. It's okay if you go over those flowers just a little bit. Ooh, my paper was dented here. That's funky. All right. Nice and blendy schmendy. Need some more blue and green, a little bit of white. Just kind of let it flow and have fun with your colors. Remember, yours does not have to look exactly like mine. I want yours to look like your idea of what your painting would be. Maybe it's a nighttime sky with stars. Maybe it's a bright blue sky with some clouds. See how this is kind of not blending? Now I'll go back and blend just a little bit more. And I don't like this part right up here. So I rinsed out my brush and I'm gonna go scrub it just a little bit. There we go, kind of like that. All right, now I'm gonna keep going down. Everybody remember that we do the background first, get all the background done, and then we can work on the foreground. Foreground is your bird or whatever is in the front. So front, middle, background. So I would say do the sky first, it's farthest back. Second, do the branch and the flowers, and then do your bird. Boy, I forgot how much fun painting is. I sure love this. I keep dipping in my blues and greens. And now I'm gonna slowly start dipping into more of my green so it gets kind of darker as it goes down in this corner over here. And I'm kind of deviating from the actual picture I've got too. It's just fun. Let the colors fly, let the colors flow. I'm gonna dip in a little bit of black and see what that does. Oh, that's a lot of black. Oh, so I'll go way to the bottom. Try to go around my flowers. I don't want my flowers to die. A little bit more green. Green, green. I'm just kind of getting generally in sort of the right area between these flowers. Ooh, that's really green. Haha. Ooh, I kind of like that. I'm gonna leave that. I'm getting in between the flowers, but not being super duper crazy about it. And then my background is almost done. So day number 1 and day number 2, we're gonna work on the background, your sky. Because I don't think we're gonna get all the way done if we watch the video on the first day of how to do this. And then once we actually get started, we're gonna need another day after this. So no worries. And I hope you guys don't ever feel pressured to get something done in the time frame I give you. If you ever need an extra day, just say, hey, yo, I need an extra day. And we'll get you one. Ooh, now I gotta blend this back up this way. Woohoo! I wanna make mine darker at the bottom. I like dark. Rinse my brush out, wipe it off, dry it off. And since I've got a little bit of water in my brush, it's kind of giving it like a more of a lighter feel to it too. Ooh, too green. Don't like that. And as you go with your painting, if you change your mind as you're going and go, you know, I don't like this particular way it's going, I want to change it up, you can change it up no matter what. Even if your drawing is different, you can always change it up. So right about in here, I'm going to add in some white to my brush. So rinse my brush, dry my brush, just do white. And now I'm going to bring that right there. So do you see how that kind of blended that together a little bit better? So there's a tiny bit of water in my brush, but almost none. And then I really went over my leaves a lot over here, but that's okay. All right. Now that I've got the background done, I'm gonna look back at my picture here, and the picture looks different than mine, and that is okay. I might bring a little bit more of this light coming down over this way and over here. And then the other one has like little sparkly dots in it. Like maybe, I don't know why, but I like them. So I'm gonna take my tiny, tiny brush, this guy, I'm gonna dip that into I dipped a little bit in water, and then I grabbed white paint and yellow paint. Oop, too white. Grab a little more white. I mean, too yellow. I meant too yellow. Oh. Okay. And then I'm just going to put some dots in the background. Just to give it some interest. I don't know. It's kind of fun. Ooh, that's a big fat dot. Now it looks like it's snowing. I don't know if I like that. Well. Oh, my brush was dirty. Ah! All right, so my brush was dirty up here and that looks really gross. So I can take a clean paper towel, get some clean water, and then you can actually, look at that, wipe that right off, okay? And in fact, I don't like those little dots in the back on mine. So I'm actually gonna take those off of there. So I just use that wet paper towel to get those off, okay? So this is my background. I think I did a really nice job. Moving forward, we're gonna start by doing the bird and the flowers. And we're gonna kind of do the same process, but instead of doing such blendy, like, whoosh, 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 your brush strokes are gonna be like smaller. So let's say I wanna start on my bird up here. I'm gonna start on his feathers first. I'm gonna take a little tiny brush, and I want the top of his head to be white and to blend into that dark blue. And it's almost the color of this, I think is pretty good. So I'm gonna start right down here and pull my brush upwards. And you guys, painting just takes practice. If you start today, you're gonna be even better next time and even better the time after that. This is dark down underneath here. And then it's kind of dark right here. Do you see how I'm just kind of doing like the dark spaces where his cheek is? With all that same color blue, I kind of work in little sections. And he's got short feathers up in here and then longer as you get down this way. So now that I'm coming up this way, I'm gonna dip into a little bit of white while my brush still has the blue in it and start here. And do you see how that's lighter already? Not super duper light, but it's lighter. And I'm gonna dip in my white again while my brush is still dirty. Look out, that was bad. But if I get my brush clean back out, I'll show you how I can fix that. Okay, now that's kind of a blob right there, but I just kept going with my lighter colors. So now there's almost no white left in my brush. If I come back in here and touch it again, I'll get that out of there and then go back in with my blue a little bit more. Oh yeah, beautiful birdie. Okay, do you see how that works? And then this one has a white, kind of like a highlight on the top of him, but my background isn't very, very dark. So I think I might make my dark background just a little darker here so I can do that light white on him. But let's see what this looks like. Maybe it will be okay. Just got a happy bird. Got a happy bird. Oh my gosh, he's adorable. I like my birdie. All right, I can throw some details in here. I keep a paper towel and I just kind of like wipe it off. And I'm gonna grab some black to do his little beak. And his beak isn't all black, it has some highlights in it and some grays in it. So I'm gonna do the blacks in here first. A little bit where his little feathers are starting. And then I'm gonna get some of his eye in here. A little bit in his feathers. And then I'm gonna get a little bit of gray by mixing my white and black together. And I'll put that between the beak and on top of the beak, just a little behind the eye. And then I'm going to take my pure white. So rinse this out, dry my brush, grab some pure white, and then that's going to be the boop. Oh, that's a big boop. That was too big of a highlight. At this point, I would have grabbed a tinier brush, and I've got some itty bitty bitty brushes that you can use. So there's his beak. See, I just took my finger and blobbed it off of there. So here's the start of my birdie bird. Okay, and then I would keep on going with the feathers and the flowers, etc. Okay, I can do video number 2 for the next portion of it, but this is the basic start of it. So as a painter, good luck, you got this. Have fun.